Welcome to Cigar Audit. Matt, Mateo, Eric, and Carl here to review Cuba's Juan Lopez Selection number 2. So let's get started, gentlemen. By the way, you may remember Carl. It's been a long time, but Carl is half the size he used to be, so fantastic. Thank you, Carl.
Thank you, Matthew.
So tell me what your cigar look, feels, and smells like.
It's really densely packed. It seems to be really well constructed. Looks like a triple cap.
Yep.
Not a whole lot of toothiness to the wrapper. Seemed kind of dry actually, but as far as the aroma that comes off of it unlit, I get a little bit of sweetness, a lot of earthiness.
Yeah, like a sweet earth.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's good.
Looking forward to getting into this one.
What about you? Anything to note, sir? Anything fantastic?
No, I agree with the sweet earth.
Yeah.
That'll be some sweet earth. So, it's a little tightly packed. I'm excited.
Are you?
I'm really, yeah. You can't tell, but yeah, I won't do that. I won't do that.
Anything you have to, I'm sorry.
Oh, I'm not done. Hello, ladies.
So it's got a nice triple cap. Some of it looks a little bit loosely wrapped. Some of the seams.
I'd say it's definitely a more rustic cigar. It's got a little bit of lumpiness to it.
It is a little lumpy, and it kind of smells like hay to me.
Box code on this cigar is BOR January 2017, so these are a little over a year old. So let's get them cut up and see what they taste like. All right, I'm glad you used deep cut because it's actually a pretty open draw. What about Carl, your draw? Pretty light?
Yeah, so I didn't get the hay through the nose that Mateo was getting, but I definitely get it a lot in the pre-light draw.
Yeah?
Yeah, I get a lot of hay in there.
Yeah, definitely. With a little bit of that subtle sweetness. What about you?
I got some air.
Got some air? Does
So did
anybody...
Michael Jordan.
Yeah, he did.
You good?
So much.
Air. So, what about the draw resistance? How's your draw resistance? Mine's fairly open.
Yeah, mine too.
Mine's pretty open.
Yeah, more than I had expected.
Yes.
So.
It's just right.
It's a double rainbow. All right, let's light these up and see what they taste like.
Eric is clearly having an emotional attachment to the cigar already.
Lots of smoke, for sure.
There's a
So,
nice creaminess.
mhm.
Nice creaminess to it.
So right off the bat,
I got sweet.
like a sourdough bread, like a sweet and sourdough almost. It's interesting, and that toast, what's that burnt toast flavor? So what are you getting there? First impressions, Mr. Mateo.
Hard.
Mmm. Yeah.
Hard.
Hard.
You asked what I'm getting. It's pretty tasty. I'm getting hard.
As he
Flavors.
said, it's been a while, so the hijinks, I'm just catching up.
Yeah, this is normal.
Yeah, so I agree with the toast. Still a little bit of hay, a little bit of sweetness. On the retro hail, there's just a little tiny bit of spice, not overpowering at all. Very tasty.
What about you, Eric? Anything to note?
Yeah, really. Just you hit it on the nail on the head with that sweet sourdough ecstasy. I bleeping love this.
Okay. Very good.
Yeah.
What about you? First impressions?
Yeah,
Carl?
I'm getting the same thing. It's very enjoyable. The flavor is not overpowering at all. I get to Mateo's point, I get very little, if any, spice at all.
Yeah.
I'm thinking, just based on my experience with Cubans, is that'll pick up as we go along. But yeah, very nice so far.
Yeah, the only spice I get is on the finish. I definitely get almost like a mix of nutmeg and cinnamon, a little bit at the end with like a hint of black pepper, because it gives you almost a little grittiness at the end of the finish. It's a fairly long finish, but I think the draw is really smooth. Very, very little spice. So good start. So we'll get further down in the cigar and we'll let you know how the first third was. Welcome back to Cigar Audit.
How you doing, Gert?
Matt, Eric, Mateo, and Carl here to go over our first third of Juan Lopez, selection number 2. So I'll start with you, Mateo, your first third, sir. How has it been?
Been pretty wonderful. Started off with a little bit of toast, some hay, a little bit of sweetness, very little bit of spice, maybe a bell pepper with spice on the retro ale, and it transitioned to some cinnamon. It's just tasty.
Yeah, very good so far. Carl, how about you, sir? Taking a picture here for the old video.
So from a construction and performance standpoint, it's pretty perfect. I haven't gotten, as I mentioned to you guys, a whole lot of very pronounced or specific spicy notes. A little bit of pepper toward the end of the third. I get a lot of grassiness to it, a little bit of leather, and actually a little bit of bitterness, but the bitterness is softened a bit by the creaminess, which has pretty much stayed around through the whole third.
Yeah, I definitely get some of that creaminess. What about you? Any specific notes that pop out to you?
No.
No? You're good at this.
I mean, I taste the lighter.
Oh, yes.
Yeah.
Oh, so do you want to talk about your burn issues? That's
Yeah,
fair.
I had to relight this.
About 12 times.
There's some issues going on there.
Yeah. It's running. It's
I'm still not going to trade with you. Just so you know.
dead. Alright. You see I'm disappointed.
I can.
Yeah, it's yours is not performing well from a construction standpoint. That is for sure.
I mean, I lit it like a pro.
Yeah,
Champ.
yeah, you did.
Gold medal light job I did.
We might have to let it go out and restart it. It might be better that way.
It went out several times.
Just let it sit out.
Oh, that perfect
Oh.
ash just dropped. Then it went right into the ashtray.
There you go.
You'd be extraordinarily proud of me.
Where is Ed when you need him?
Yeah, exactly.
Well-
Take notes.
So mine's performed pretty well too. Mine's got a wonky burn and kind of a boner ash. I'm not sure what's going on there, but in general, the flavors are very similar to Matt's. You know and Carl's, the lighter, a little bit of hay, and it's definitely moved. The sweetness went away, and now it's come back into a vegetal sweetness, that bell pepper with sweetness to it. I love sweet.
I'm getting a lot of sweetness on the retro ale.
Yeah, I get the retro ale. You definitely get that bell pepper, real strong, sweet bell pepper. Finish gives you a little bit of cinnamon and nutmeg. It's kind of, the finish is eased up a little bit. It was stronger at first, but now it's not as deep of a pepper note. But so far so good, except for Mr. Eric. But we'll try to get him fixed up here.
Please pray for me
Yes, please.
and my cigar.
Yeah. Oh no, just your cigar.
Your body is sweet.
We'll get down further into this cigar. We'll let you know how the second third was.
And we're going to edit that part out. Or not.
Welcome back to Cigar Audit. Matt, Mateo, Carlos, and Eric,
Relighting his cigar.
lighting a cigar again, not going well for him, are here to go over the Juan Lopez selection number 2 in the second third. So I will start with you, Mateo, your second third. How was it?
It's good.
Wow, that's fantastic. That's
Right
very
there. Come on,
informative.
give me some up
Can
here.
you elaborate
Give me
on
some
that?
up here.
Woo! Very informative service. Any flavors to note?
Nothing new for me. That's really all I got.
Oh, that's it.
It's decent.
Come on, give me some more.
I mean,
No? Okay.
we got up to go grab a drink, and I did have to relight when I got back because I let it sit too long. I had, at the beginning of the second third, I had a pretty uneven burn. I did a touch up. It's decent right now. It's
Ugly ash.
Yeah. But overall decent construction, good draw,
Yeah.
decent flavors. You know, when I first lit it, it was absolutely delicious, and most of those flavors have remained, but no transitions.
Yeah, yeah. And I would agree, it's not very complex. I get more of a deeper earth than I did in the beginning, and it's you definitely get that bell pepper sweetness and a little bit of spice, but it's still not a lot. But that deep earthiness sticks through the finish.
Yeah.
So, what about you, Carlos?
Well, as I suspected, the peppery flavors have certainly come in as I progressed through the stick. I still don't get as much of the vegetal notes that you guys are getting, so that could be, you know, palate oriented, or that could just be that mine, you know, flavors a bit differently. But overall, to Mateo's point, it's been pretty consistent throughout, without a whole lot of, you know, major changes like, wow, I just got that, or, you know, something. So it's but it's a very pleasant.
Yeah.
Very pleasant.
Pleasant, not overly complex.
Yeah.
Do you get any flavor since you've relit it like 100 times? No, that sucks. You know, and I'll say this in regards to Cuban cigars, that is the unfortunate part, especially with not the higher end brands or the higher end, you know, regular production products. You don't get consistency throughout the box. I actually have smoked maybe 6 or 7 out of the box, and I would say at least one of them didn't perform well. I ended up tossing it halfway through because I was just annoyed. But no, you have to power through it. It's a review. Sorry, but in general, you know, they're good sticks. They're not overly complex, but you do get some construction issues. So you kind of get.
I mean, like I said at the beginning, it's delicious. You get the sweetness, and I'm pretty sure that if I had that beautiful burn and it had to relate it, it would still be delicious right now. I'm not saying it's not delicious. It's just that I am a little disappointed that I had to relight it. It's a lot of work, and I'm supposed to be enjoying myself. You know?
That's true. Very true.
Yeah.
I one note I just got, which is very interesting. A little bit of white pepper through the nose and some mint. Which is very
Some
different.
mint or some mint?
Some mint.
Okay.
Thank you for asking.
No problem.
No, not semen.
I'm about to say, no, I need to put this down.
That wouldn't be a great.
No,
that wouldn't be a
no,
great
I
flavor.
think we should all put it down.
Yeah. Right.
Well, we'll finish these cigars down and we'll let you know how they go. Welcome back to Cigar Audit. Mateo, Matt, Eric, and Carlos here to go over the last third and total of the Juan Lopez Selection number 2. So I'll start with you, Carlos. You were talking about your cigar, sir.
Yeah. So it's actually smoothed out quite a bit as it's gone through. I'm a little behind where El Padrino there is, almost to the bitter end.
Nubbin.
I had through the end of the first third and into the second third, there was a bitterness, as I mentioned before, even a harshness to it, but it's really smoothed out quite a bit as it's gone along. I still the vegetal notes that these guys have not gotten a lot of those, but Mateo mentioned a sort of a minty or a mentholy kind of a flavor to it, and I don't get the mint as a flavor, but I do get the characteristics of mint on my tongue, sort of the reaction, that the aftertaste that you have, like from a breath mint almost. So it definitely sort of wakes up the flavor quite a bit. The creaminess is still there, just a hint of spice, but overall still an incredibly pleasant smoke. I have had to relight just a couple of times, but you had described, I think before we started, you said this is kind of like a rustic cigar, and you described it that way, and I think, you know, I get a lot of that.
Yeah.
You know, it's just a very earthy, very grassy, but quite a pleasant stick.
Yeah, it's not super complex and it's not very refined, but I do find it to be, you know, it's usually a pretty pleasant stick if you get the right construction. So, speaking of construction,
Other than me relighting it, you know, my whole life.
It's at least a couple dozen times at this point, folks.
I do get a mint, and I still get some sweetness, which makes me believe that I get like a spearmint taste, not just a mint taste. So I do get that refreshness. Is that a word, refreshness?
yeah,
It is now.
It's a refreshness.
it's refreshment.
Excuse me.
Ooh, refreshment. I see what you
Do
did
you
there.
see that?
Nice.
Yeah, and it's refreshing.
What about you, Mateo?
Yeah, bring us back down to earth, please.
Yeah, let's do that.
So this last third, they must have put some Vicks Vapor Rub or Icy Hot or something.
Icy hot.
It does certainly give you a mentholated feel. I did not taste mint, but it's definitely the feel of menthol when you smoke it. Carl used the word brightness earlier to describe the feeling. I'm definitely getting that. Still a little bit of sweetness. Now, Carl did mention that his became smoother as he went. Mine has actually become spicier and a little bit stronger towards the end of this last third. I did have to relight, well, one time because I let it sit too long, but it did just go out on me while I was smoking it, I think twice. I have had fairly uneven burns a few times. I had some touch-ups in addition to those relights. But altogether, decent flavors and good draw throughout.
Yeah.
If I may,
Yeah, you may. You may.
just went out again.
Yeah, mine too, actually.
Yeah, I think construction on these is a big negative because I've relit mine 3 times, had some wonky burn here and there, but nothing as tragic as Eric's. But you don't, when you smoke a cigar, you don't really want to have to attend to it. So to me, that definitely hurts the rating. But I think the flavors, when they're there, they're very pleasant, not overly complex. Very similar flavors. To me, the mint was more like a leafy mint mixed with a light pepper. So, and a little bit of that sweetness, kind of like that bell pepper sweetness. But yeah, it's kind of interesting. Not surprising that it's unfortunately inconsistent between smokers. So let's do this if we may. I'm going to start with you, Mateo. What would you rate said cigar?
86.
86. Wow. Okay. What about you, Carlos?
That's a little low. I think I'd be a little higher than that, but I'm going to be like in the 88, 89 range. I don't think it's a 90 plus stick.
No.
I really don't, but maybe a little higher than that.
Yeah, I'm going with an 89 because mine performed better than yours from a construction standpoint. And when the flavors were there, they were pleasant. Not great, but they were certainly pleasant, so it was an enjoyable smoke while it lasted. But construction was a little bit of a pain in the ass. I guess yours is getting a 2.
I mean, if I didn't have to relate it, put so much work into trying to keep it, lit, I'll put it in 90s, but the construction really killed it for me, and I want to say 85.
Yeah, that's actually pretty nice because if I had
pretty
to relight,
generous.
if I had to relight it a dozen plus times, I think I would give it a
If
4.
it weren't for the
Yeah.
relights, just based on, and the inconsistent burn and all that, if it was just on the flavors and the draw, it would be at least an 88, 89 for me, but
Yeah.
it's those things that really brought it down.
Certainly. So I'd say get them. If you can get them in singles, I would get a single, see how it performs, see if you like the flavors. I wouldn't necessarily buy a box of them again, so just word to the wise. It's not a bad stick if you get a good one out of the box. The price, I mean, they're about $8.50 a stick, over $200 a box. For that price, you can get Romeo and Juliet, a short Churchill. It's a 95 all day. So I would rather go with that. It's a little different profile, but it's a much better cigar, and the construction is far better. So is what it is. But if you find them in singles, get a single.
What were you saying earlier? I think when we were off air about perhaps dry boxing for a few days.
Good
to
point.
Maybe improve the performance.
Yeah, I'm going to test it out, but I haven't had to do it yet, but these have definitely performed like that. You might want to dry box it for 2 or 3 days to pull some of the oils out of the wrapper. I think a lot of this is a wrapper issue, and the wrapper not burning will help pull back the burning of the inside and the filler of the cigar. It's got to be worth it, and maybe I'll do that before I post this so that I can determine whether or not that really makes a difference. But decent cigar, not a great cigar, and way too inconsistent for a box buy in my opinion.
I just want to note now, you can see it's not burned here, and there's a run going down on this side. It's about 1.5 inches different, and it's starting to completely unravel.
Yeah.
So,
Not good.
I'm done.
Don't forget to check us out at cigarout.com and all the Institute Twitter, social media stuff, and check out all the other videos that we have on YouTube. So give us a sweet one.
He was born in the boondocks. Please ignore him.
We'll see you next time.
Thanks, everybody.
Peace.